feel a different responsibility running CIS of Atlanta because it started everything. So that means we should be the best practitioners of what we do. We should be the innovators to lead the network into what's happening the next 20 years. We should be the best practitioners, the best board members who are all engaged and giving and working to make this organization great. We should have a plan, a strategic plan that guides our work. And we should have results, clean audits, and 97% of our kids, like last year, either graduating high school or earning promotion to the next grade. And we're an evidence-based model. I think the one thing I would tell the nonprofit sector is we are being held to account in this market to prove your impact. And that is a confusing thing. There's a lot of forces that are, Mackenzie Bezos is really shaking up giving and really bringing a spotlight to the discrimination that nonprofit leaders of color, especially, there was an article in the Chronicle of Philanthropy that talked about leaders like me not getting these same opportunities as other nonprofit leaders to make impact, to get grants that don't have all these restrictions on them, and that grants that are meaningful, that we can actually do some innovative stuff. So for me, I could not be more proud of my work at CIS. I tell people the most valuable assets we have, not just here in Atlanta, but across this network, are the site coordinators. These are people, these are the agents of love. These are the unsung heroes. During COVID, year to year, from March 2020 to March 2021, CIS of Atlanta gave out over $600,000 in emergency assistance from a grant we got from BET, Black Entertainment Television. And it was for my communities of color that were affected negatively by COVID. 2,500 families got some assistance off of that. Wow. Over 70% of that funding went for housing. Think about it. In the midst of a pandemic, the majority of the people we served or who we gave assistance to were trying to secure or keep or get into housing. Mind you, schools were closed. Mind you, laptop distribution and purchases by each school district varied based off of who was ahead of the curve and who was not. Mind you, every study that I've seen, every Wall Street Journal article, every New York Times article says that virtual learning was an absolute disaster in some instances for poor kids of color. Some kids never even showed up the whole year because of these barriers. There was no way to find them if they were missing or if they moved. So we're digging out of a ditch. And more importantly, in particular about Atlanta. Atlanta was deemed by Bloomberg Businessweek the year of right before COVID as the income inequality capital of America. That means people of color are worse off here than they are in Appalachia. It wasn't Appalachia, it wasn't West Virginia, it wasn't San Francisco, it wasn't New York City, it wasn't Greenwich, Connecticut, it wasn't the suburbs of Phoenix, it wasn't the suburbs of Philadelphia, it was in Atlanta. The city that produced Martin Luther King and Maynard Jackson and Hank Aaron hit home runs and we had all these great C.T. Vivian and the list goes on and on. But Black people today are worse off here statistically than any other place in the country. And then juxtapose that with the great statistic of more Black people make over $200,000 a year than any other city in the country here in Atlanta, but most of them are transplants, which means they don't know anything about Atlanta. When they move in, they're not moving to poor communities, they're going to gated communities, they have a gilded life, and they don't even see it or understand the poverty, the systemic, endemic poverty that has kids like at Thomasville Heights, the poorest school in our portfolio, one of the lowest performing schools in the state of Georgia for the last 40 years.
Yeah. And COVID would not have helped that statistic at all.
The median income for parents at that school was $9,700.
No.
I'm going to repeat that. $9,700 in America. Those children are in similar conditions than children from Mumbai, India, or from some of the slums and some of the South American communities that are really hit and ravaged by poverty and lack of opportunity. They're no different.
Right.
In America. in Atlanta,
Mhm.
a place that has been run by African-American mayors for the last 40 years. That's un-American for me. So for me, that is the stick that keeps me going. And that's the fire that burns in me to really, with CIS, with our mission, with my colleagues, with a great board that's led by Eric Barnum and Chris Christie, to really change the game and get kids on a pathway to getting a degree, a certificate from a 2-year school if they can't go to a 4-year school, because all of our kids are not going to go to college. I'm not living but they can get a certificate in piping and plumbing and in electricians, and that's still noble. They still can buy a home with that.